Sure, anybody can make an omelet. Drop some eggs in a pan, add your favorite ingredients, or just keep it plain, and then you wind up with something like this. And every once in a while, you have an omelet that's nothing like 99% of the omelets you've eaten. There's a heavenly balance of flavors and textures, and you just can't seem to stop shoveling it in your mouth. Hey friends, my name is George Gianaris. I'm a chef for 36 years, and if you're here, it's because you like to eat healthy, save money, and cook like a pro. Today I'm gonna give you 10 pieces of solid advice on how to take your omelets to that next level. In culinary school, they say a chef is only as good as the omelet that they make. And also today, I'm gonna give you 3 recipes for my absolute favorite omelets. I'm gonna show you how to make an omelet that I sell hundreds of each week. It's on my menu as George's Fave. I'm also gonna make a next level omelet. This omelet, not so simple to make, but it's the kind of omelet you make when you're trying to really blow away your future fiance, or the kind of omelet you make when you just want to take a nap after breakfast. Then there is this, Bánh Xèo, which is a Vietnamese crepe that I absolutely love to make. There are many different ways to make an omelet. Today we're gonna focus on what they call an American or a country style omelet, which is more well done. These omelets are crispier, darker, and are usually filled with ingredients of your choice. Regardless of what type of omelet you make, the tips I'm gonna give you today are really gonna help you make an extraordinary omelet. Tip number 1, choose your eggs carefully. Cheap store-bought white eggs are not gonna cut it. You want the chickens that lay your eggs to be fed with the best possible ingredients. So how do you know? The more deeper the orange color of the yolk, the more creamy the texture of the omelet. I bought these eggs from a local farmer, and they taste so much better than the typical eggs you buy in a supermarket. They were so fresh that they were actually warm when I bought them. Look, it's just like any other ingredient. The better the ingredients, the better the dish tastes. The healthier ingredients, the healthier it is for you, the better you feel when you eat it and your body is drawn to that dish. Tip number 2, leave your eggs out on the counter. Before you start prepping your omelet, take the eggs out of the refrigerator and leave them on the counter for at least an hour. You see, omelets cook from the outside in, and the greater the temperature is of the omelet, the longer it's going to take for the center of the omelet to cook, which means the edges will brown a little bit more than they should before you can flip the omelet. Tip number 3, do not over whip your eggs. You want to mix your eggs well because you don't want any separation between the whites and the yolks, but if you keep going, you may aerate your eggs and that will make the omelet be a little spongy. Tip number 4, don't add milk or water to your eggs. This is one of the most controversial tips because a lot of people swear by this tip. They feel that adding milk or water to their eggs is going to make their omelet a little bit more fluffy, but I feel that it actually takes away from the flavor of the concentration of the egg. Some people add a little bit of water. They say that that little bit of water adds steam to the omelet while it's cooking, and that makes it more fluffy. I disagree with that also because the omelet is made up primarily of egg whites, which is primarily made up of water. So how is adding just a little bit more water going to make any difference to the omelet? Here's a technique that does work, but I can't recommend you do it at home because at best you'll make a mess, or worse, you'll get burned. By adding a little bit of water to the center of the butter just before you add the eggs to that butter, you're creating that steam that will make the omelet cook in the center a little bit faster, and it'll also create like a unique texture in that omelet. But don't do it because it's not worth it. You'll make a mess and you might wind up burning yourself. Tip number 5, don't add salt or pepper to the raw eggs. I find that if you add salt to the omelet just when it comes out of the pan, when it's steaming, it gives it more flavor than if you add the salt to the eggs before you cook it. And never, ever put pepper in the raw eggs because as that omelet is cooking, it's gonna turn gray. If you choose the right butter, your omelet won't need any added salt because the salt that is in the butter will complement the flavor of the eggs. Tip number 6, not all butters are created equal. In a previous video I did on butter, a link to that will be made available at the end of this video, I spoke about the differences of milk that came from grass-fed cows versus milk that came from grain-fed cows. Also about the differences between butter made from regular milk and organic milk. Here is the rule. If you enjoy the taste of the butter plain, spread on a cracker, not bread, use that butter. And why not bread? Because bread has yeast in it, and that flavor is going to affect the taste of the butter. The best butters out there are made with aged cream, like Kerrygold. I really like the flavor of those particular butters, but there's so many different brands out there that age their cream. You choose what you like. When I lived in Greece, we rarely made eggs with butter at all. We made them with olive oil. If you use olive oil instead of butter, make sure again that you really love the flavor of that olive oil. Tip number 7, always make sure your butter is softened and at room temperature. If you're gonna add a pat of butter to your pan and it's cold, it's gonna take longer for it to melt. And while the center of the butter is melting, the outside is already starting to turn brown, which is gonna affect the flavor of your omelet as well as the color. Tip number 8, season the ingredients individually before you put them in your omelet. Did you ever have a salad that had no seasoning on it or dressing? Your eggs taste good, your butter tastes good, your vegetables are bland. Where are they gonna get the seasoning from to enhance their flavor? Tip number 9, use organic and all natural ingredients free from artificial preservatives and chemicals. I mean, that's what this channel is all about. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I cannot stress enough the correlation between quality ingredients and the taste of a dish. But more importantly, your health. You want to walk away from an omelet, or any dish for that matter, feeling energized. And if your body is not getting the nutrition that it needs, you're not going to get that feeling. I've saved the most important tip for last: temperature. It takes a lot of practice to get a feel for what the heat in the pan is doing to the omelet. That's why if you're going to start out making omelets, I recommend you do it on an electric skillet or some kind of skillet that has a controlled heat source. Professional chefs make a lot of omelets, and like musicians, have a connection with their instrument or frying pan. The key to making a successful omelet is temperature, and I find that temperature to be between 340 and 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or around 170 degrees Celsius. If you're cooking an omelet in a frying pan, once you add your eggs to the pan, the temperature drops, then it goes up, depending on the intensity of your heat source. And even if that pan is 340 degrees Fahrenheit, the temperature is going to fluctuate, and it's going to rapidly increase as the internal temperature of the omelet increases. Unfortunately, there's no easy way of getting that understanding except through experience, and that experience is going to give you the understanding that you need between the relationship of the heat in the pan and what it does to the omelet. And that heat in the pan is severely affected by the thickness of the bottom of that pan.
These go to 11.
Here's bonus tip number 11. When you're choosing a pan to make your omelets, choose a pan that does not have a very thick bottom. So this way, if it gets too hot, you could remove it from the flame and it's going to cool down more rapidly. If it has a really thick bottom, that heat is just going to keep going and burn your omelet. To 2 eggs, add a 1/4 cup of feta, a handful or about 3/4 of a cup of organic baby spinach, and 1/2 cup of your choice of either white button or organic cremini mushrooms. Notice how I didn't season my mushrooms or spinach, and that is because of the feta. The feta has enough salt in it to season the entire omelet. See how the omelet has firmed up and the edges aren't excessively brown? That's what you want. It is important to cook the omelet evenly on both sides, but in this case, we're only going to cook the omelet on the second side a little bit so that it stays together. I'm adding Swiss cheese to this, but ideally you want to add Jarlsberg. I just want to cook the omelet enough to allow the cheese to melt. I absolutely love this omelet. Let's give it a taste. You have the springiness of the mushrooms and that softness of the spinach, the creaminess of the feta, and the stringiness of the Swiss cheese. It marries together so perfectly. This is really my favorite omelet. Gordon Ramsay makes the best scrambled eggs I have ever tasted. Here I am scrambling 2 of his eggs using this method. I did a video where I make his scrambled eggs on a double boiler, which makes them easier to perfect. A link to that video will be available at the end of this video. When the eggs are done, add 2 ounces or 50 grams of goat cheese to the eggs with a dash of salt and pepper. Saute up the spinach on a higher than normal temperature, just until it wilts, and then season the spinach with just a little salt. You want to keep your skillet at a lower temperature, around 320 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 degrees Celsius. You want this omelet to be pale on the outside. There are so many different textures and flavors in this omelet. It's almost like a well-choreographed symphony. Oh, look how creamy and beautiful that scrambled egg is in the center of the omelet. Oh my God. I know this is a lot of steps. It's a lot of effort. It's well worth it. The spinach and the balsamic glaze marry together so well. That balsamic cuts away the oxalic acid, which is what makes your teeth kind of feel funny when you eat spinach sometimes. Oh my God. And then you get that nice little thin layer of omelet on the outside. Fantastic. This Vietnamese crepe is one of the most unique omelet dishes I've ever had. You'd want to start by weighing out 2.6 ounces or 73 grams of rice flour, half a teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt, or 3 milliliters. 237 milliliters of water, which is equal to 237 grams of water, and 1 stalk of organic scallion. Start out by drizzling a tablespoon or 15 milliliters of coconut aminos into a cup of bean sprouts. This dish has to be made in a pan with a good amount of avocado oil over medium-high heat. About a quarter cup or 60 milliliters. But don't worry, much of it is drained off. Bring it to 350 degrees or 176 degrees Celsius. Add 2 slices of coarsely chopped prosciutto, but don't cook it. You just want to extract that cured meat flavor into the oil. Then immediately add your rice flour mixture, followed by 2 beaten eggs. Add the sprouts to the center and fold the omelet over, almost like a taco. This dish isn't usually served for breakfast. It's served with shrimp in it and bacon, and it comes with like a Vietnamese dipping sauce that has fish oil in it. But let's give this one a try. It's like magical. You can forego the toast and get a little bit of carbs from the rice flour. It's crispy. The bean sprouts are slightly sweetened, and the perfect saltiness with the coconut aminos and prosciutto. That is really, really delicious. Totally worth trying. Not so hard to make. How do you make your favorite omelet? Please leave a comment down below. Show the love, hit that like button, and subscribe. We'll see you again soon.